it's interesting how post-traumatic stress, an image, a name, a song, a word somebody says, if it's specific enough, it can unveil memories that have previously been in your subconscious and bring them back to the conscious. And about a week or two ago, I saw an image randomly, and that triggered this memory. You'll never see me do things in order in this, because it's whatever's on my mind the most, and because this is one of the newer memories, meaning, what I'd forgotten. In post-traumatic stress, you can forget things for decades until something rises it to the surface. You think, how could I possibly forget that? But especially as children, it was explained to me once by a psychologist that especially as children, we literally just forget it ever happened. We might remember the good parts, but not the bad parts, and that's an involuntary response to immense trauma or stress. And I don't understand it. I think it's stupid, because I want to remember. I want to remember so that I can brace for what's next, what's coming next. And I wouldn't have wanted to be that oblivious. I would have wanted to, make sure that I was protecting myself as best I could. And, if I had it my way, I would remember, so I wouldn't be so trusting of my family. Literally, they belong to an Abrahamic cult, but they would never admit that to my face. They never admit it to me, because I'm not, an insider. I'm the devil child. I'm the one that wouldn't die, that they want to keep trying to kill over and over again. And of course, they're not going to let me in on any of the secrets. But I know that's what they are because of what they do. And if I would have remembered this sooner, I could have protected myself sooner. So that's what pisses me off, but I'm just, at this point, I'm glad. Anytime I get a memory like this, I'm glad, because better late than never to just rack on how much proof I have of who they really are. They'll do this to people too, try to make people think that they're good parents with false reputations. They're really good at lying about who they really are. So anyway, my father was going on a business trip, and we don't usually go with him, but my mother wanted to see New York City, and he was going near New York, so, he's like, why not, just come with me, you get to see the city, and I'll be on this business trip, and whatever. The plan was that me and my mother were supposed to stay in the city, but what happened was that his accomplice, or whatever it was, got sick and couldn't drive him, and he said to my mother, you have to drive me. She put down a foot, and put up a bit of a complaint, because she was like, no, I can't drive you, and I didn't understand, what this meant at the time. It'll make sense to you later. It was a really long way there, and they told me that it was going to be like this fun thing. I had to go with them because, I was a child and there was no one to watch me. And so to get me to go quickly in the car, they just told me it was going to be fun. They told me it was a barn eventually, but that's all they told me. We got there, it did look like a barn or a farm or something. And it did look like it was a barn, so I thought it was going to be like a bunch of animals and stuff. Well, the man greets us and he says, actually, no, it's not a barn, it's a sugar house. It's a maple syrup factory. Really, factory is a loose word, because this is a factory that would be like for you and your family and friends. It's really small, really tiny sugar house. And the fact that I'm even allowed to be out of the car is kind of strange, because normally my father would make me stay in there. And I think, something influenced him. Something had to have influenced him. My mother definitely stayed in the car, and she wanted me to stay in. I know for a fact the universe had other plans, and someone or something influenced my father to say that I could come, because normally he would never let me come with, And I think the events would have drastically changed had I not come with. I think some things I had to be taught. Some things were like a lesson to me, who to trust, who not to trust. And especially now remembering all of it, I can make sense of it where I couldn't as a child. And so some of those lessons are coming 20 years later, but also I don't know how many people would have died. I think even more people could have died had I not come with him. And it was just one of those fluke things where you change one event and it changes it's like a domino effect. It's not because of me that it changed. It's just the circumstance change. I'll talk about it in a minute. So the guy actually takes us on a tour, and he's really nice to us, and he talks about, how nature is so healing and how the syrup is healing and how the taps, these old-fashioned taps on the trees with the old-fashioned buckets, he actually explains how it doesn't hurt the tree at all, and it's like this nice harmony with nature. And about that time, my father starts asking about church, and he says, oh, well, nature's my church now. And to somebody who's 1300s, 1500s, whatever, neo-Nazi, Abrahamic cult, that's a big, do not say. And so my father, just, looked at him really angrily. And this guy was babbling on about his brother and how, his brother had this dream of making it into an actual business. And, he almost didn't want to do the business. And he's thinking, maybe I should do it in honor of him, or maybe I should not do it in honor of him. And I don't know what to do. Poor guy is going through grief because he's just lost his brother recently. And my father just, through his babbling, goes like this. No, I don't see everything, because I never, when you're that stressed out and you're that traumatized and you're abused that much, you don't look at everything fully. A lot of times I never looked directly at anyone or anything. And I listened really closely, but I never looked directly at something. And so really, I don't remember seeing what he had in his hand. I just remember him going out like that, yelling at him to get rid of the business, get rid of the property, sell his house, and, plead loyalty to the church. And the guy was like, I do remember the guy going like this, and just being way too like, whatever you want to do, fine, that's perfect. Yeah, I can do that. No problem. He was way too panicked for my father just to be pointing a finger and yelling. And I know that now, but I didn't know that back then. I hadn't know anything about a gun back then. And so I just stepped in front of my father and screamed at him, why are you being mean to him? Why are you yelling at him? This is his house. He can do what he wants with it. He's been the kindest man I know. He's not done anything to hurt you. And I just, kept screaming and yelling at my father, and he yanks me aside. Then he starts having a coughing fit. And when I get really mad and I yell, I noticed this pattern a lot as a child. When I get mad, really mad, shit happens. And I don't know why, but it happens. And back then I couldn't control it. It would only happen when I was mad. And I was making him cough, but I didn't know it was me. I just thought he had, he just choked on, something down the wrong pipe or something. I don't know. But the timing of it and how long he coughed and how long he was choking for just did not make sense. Finally, he gets over his coughing fit and drags me back to the car. My mother does the child lock thing, but by now I know where the child lock is. So I just slip, my hand up there and unlock it and run back in. By now, everybody it's only actually that one man and my father and me that were out in the woods. But by now, everybody's actually back in the Sugarhouse. There's this guy, hunched over like this saying, don't worry about me, worry about him. Someone needs to worry about him. And everybody's huddled around the older guy that's hunched over, and no one's worrying about the guy that's like completely unconscious, on the table. And, I'm actually perplexed as to why no one cares about the guy that's unconscious on the table. And I just instinctively know my father did something to them. So what did you do to them? I don't remember seeing any blood. But again, I don't look at everything directly. You know, who knows, maybe I did see something on the floor, I just didn't realise it was blood, and maybe I thought it was syrup. I do remember seeing something on the floor, but I don't remember seeing, the people were in winter jackets, so it kind of makes sense that you wouldn't see. That guy was in, I think it's some kind of dark checkered, and it guy hunched over. I didn't know what, I thought my father maybe poisoned him or something. I didn't realise it was a bullet, but that's what it was a bullet. And my father said, he just said he was fine. He himself just said he was fine. I don't have time to argue about this. You don't know the full story, that kind of thing. And I just knew that my father was the one to hurt these people. They drag him into this room as my father is dealing with this kind of unconscious guy. And then I think there might be another guy further back, I can't remember, that he's dealing with. And then you drag me into that room too. And they say, you need to stay here until where it's safe, until we can get police out here. This really big burly guy with a yellowish shirt gets a rifle, and he goes out to fight my father. And I'm like, really? No one else is gonna go out there? Really? And he's yelling at my father, getting in front of him instead of behind him. You know, I'm thinking, this is not a way to win a fight, especially if you're alone, you're the only person out there. I'm thinking, no, I've got to help him. If no one else is going to help him, everyone else is cowards, I've got to go help him. In my mind, that's what it was, but really I think that they were just trying to, you know, no one else had a gun. That's, you know. So anyway, I went out the door again, even though they told me not to. And no one actually went out there and pulled me back in. So I was able to just kind of go out there and sneak my way, you know, behind my father. So there's two metal table type trough table things, countertop metal things. And my father's standing in between the both of them. And this one right here, I finally climb up on top of it, and I run to the edge, and then I jump, and then I grab a hold of my father's neck and try to strangle him. The problem is, he flings me off. I do it again, he flings me off again. I do it 2 or 3 times, and he flings me off because I'm too little. And this has given him enough time, though, that he either dropped the gun or the other man might have knocked the gun out of his hand, I don't know. But the gun actually is on one of those tables. It has been, you know, knocked out of his hand and on one of those tables. And the bigger guy is pointing the rifle at my father now. And basically, you know, telling him to get out of here and leave, that kind of thing. And, you know, my father, the coward as he is, kind of backs away and does this measure to grab his gun as he's backing away, and, you know, then yanks me and pulls me with him. And I remember the pain in my heart, wanting to stay with the nice people, not wanting to go back with my evil family, and having no choice, and knowing that those people are really hurt and not getting any help. You know, it was extremely painful emotionally. You know, all I wanted to do is stay with them. They were kind to me, and they deserved help, you know. We get into the car, and then, you know, they yell at me, and then, I don't know, we drive somewhere 30, 45 minutes away ish, and we trade the black car for a white car, and that's never happened before. And I keep wondering, why do we need a new car? It doesn't make any sense. Why are we getting a different car? I always needed to know why, as one of those children. And my father finally screams, oh, I think actually both of them finally scream at me, because of you. You're why we need another car. So apparently it worked, because police never came. I still don't know who lived, who died. That is something that's going to haunt me my entire life.